The boy's hands trembled slightly as he stepped into the jewelry store, his sneakers scuffing against the polished marble floor that gleamed like a mirror under the midday sun. Rays of daylight spilled in through the tall glass windows, bouncing off the glittering display of rings and necklaces that looked too bright, too expensive, too far from his world. He wore a yellow plaid shirt that had faded at the elbows, and his jeans had a threadbare edge at the cuffs. He wasn't dressed like the customers who usually walked into a place like this, with their tailored suits and shining shoes. His name was Arav, and he was only 17. The weight of the moment pressed on him, because the necklace he had come to see wasn't for himself, it was for his mother, who had sacrificed everything for him after his father passed away. At least, that's what everyone believed. But before he could even take a step closer to the counter, laughter filled the air. 3 employees stood behind the glass cases, dressed in crisp uniforms with pearl buttons and name tags that gleamed under the lights. Their voices rang sharp and cold, mocking his presence like whispers of a cruel storm. One of them pointed at him openly, covering her mouth as if she were hiding a joke. Another leaned closer to her colleague and chuckled, her eyes sparkling with judgment. They didn't see Arav's courage, his love, or the reason that had brought him there. They only saw a boy who didn't belong. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and treating people with dignity no matter who they are, please take a moment now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Together, we can remind the world that true worth goes far beyond appearances. Arav stood frozen, his heart sinking as if the ground had betrayed him. He wasn't used to the ridicule, but he wasn't surprised either. Life had given him enough moments where people looked down on him, judging his shoes, his clothes, or his silence. He walked to the counter slowly, every step echoing like thunder in his ears. He asked, in a soft voice, if he could see a simple silver pendant displayed on a velvet tray. It was delicate, shaped like a leaf, something he thought his mother would smile at. But the laughter grew sharper. "Can you even afford to breathe in here?" one of the women muttered under her breath, loud enough for him to hear. His cheeks burned, his throat tightened, and he wished for a moment that he could vanish. The world around him blurred with shame, and yet he stayed. Because this wasn't about him, it was about the woman who had worked double shifts as a seamstress, who had mended clothes for others so he could stay in school, who had gone without new shoes for years so he could have books. He wanted her to know she was worthy of beauty too. The scene unfolded as if time had slowed. Behind the counter, the women sneered, their laughter ringing like broken glass. Customers in the store looked on, some shaking their heads, others smirking. Arav wanted to scream, to tell them all that they were wrong, but he kept his silence. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bundle of crumpled bills, his savings from tutoring neighborhood kids in math, from mowing lawns in the summer, from odd jobs that left his hands sore and blistered. He laid the money gently on the glass. For a brief second, the laughter stopped. But then it returned, louder than before, like a cruel wave crashing against fragile hope. What no one knew, not even Arav himself, was that the truth about his father had been hidden like a buried seed waiting for the right moment to break through. Arav had always believed his father had died when he was little, leaving his mother to raise him alone. What he didn't know was that his father, Kabir, hadn't abandoned him, he had built something extraordinary in silence. Kabir was alive, and not just alive, he was the owner of that very jewelry store, one of the most respected businessmen in the city. For years, Kabir had kept his identity hidden, choosing to live quietly as a farmer on the outskirts of town, where he raised crops and invested quietly in businesses, always teaching his son the value of humility and hard work. That day, Kabir happened to be in the store, dressed in his simple olive green suit and wide-brimmed hat. He had walked in quietly, unnoticed, watching from a distance as his son faced ridicule. His heart clenched at the sight of Arav's bowed head, at the cruel way the employees mocked him. Kabir had always wanted his son to grow strong without relying on wealth or power, but this moment struck him deeply. It was no longer about lessons, it was about dignity. He stepped forward slowly, his shoes echoing with authority across the marble floor. The laughter faltered, eyes turned, and a hush swept through the store. The employees straightened instantly, their smirks fading when they recognized their employer. Kabir's voice carried calm thunder when he spoke. He asked Arav gently what he had come to buy. Arav looked up, startled, not even fully recognizing the men who stood before him. Kabir placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder, pride glowing in his eyes. In that instant, the truth unfolded like a curtain rising on a stage. Kabir turned to the staff, his gaze sharp. He revealed that this boy, this humble, ridiculed boy, was his son, and not only that, but the rightful heir to everything they saw in the store. The employees gasped, their faces pale with shame. Their laughter died, replaced by silence that cut sharper than any words. The customers stood in stunned awe, realizing they had witnessed a lesson larger than wealth. Arif's world shifted in that moment. He wasn't just the boy who people laughed at. He was the son of a man who had taught him that true worth lies in character, not appearances. His father didn't need to flaunt wealth to be powerful, he chose humility because it was the richest form of strength. Together, they bought the necklace Arif had chosen for his mother, not because of what it cost, but because of the love that had chosen it. As they stepped out into the daylight, Arif felt taller, stronger, no longer weighed down by shame. People inside the store whispered, their eyes following him, but this time with respect. His mother's face lit up later that day when Arif placed the necklace in her hands, tears streaming down her cheeks as she realized her son had given her not just jewelry, but the gift of honor. Life in the town changed after that day. The story spread, not of wealth or ownership, but of humility, kindness, and the reminder that laughter at someone's expense often hides ignorance. Arif never forgot how it felt to stand alone, and he made a vow to treat everyone with the dignity he had once been denied. And his father, Kabir, finally embraced the balance of truth, no longer hiding, but walking proudly with his son by his side. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that kindness matters more than status, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more stories that inspire hope and compassion. And before we end, I have a special request, leave a comment below sharing what this story meant to you, because your words may be the light someone else needs today.